And we're live on YouTube.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody check their microphones, make sure that I'm going to move mine a little farther away.
Testing.
We're all good on the mic check? Okay, roll call of PC members, please.
Trumbull.
Here.
Milnick.
Here.
Stratton.
Here.
Merchant. Here. Rebant.
Here.
Okay, set or adjust the meeting agenda. Does anybody have any changes?
Is this out of order? Don't we discuss between?
No, we can
Myra?
change it for a special meeting.
Oh, okay.
May I go back to the roll call?
Yes.
Mike Sherman is absent and Peltonen here.
Thanks, Denise.
Okay. Denise. Down.
Denise, can you move your mic down so it's more in front of your face when you're speaking? Thank you. Okay, any changes or adjustments?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll make that motion, Melnick.
Second, Merchant.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right. Declaration of conflict of interest pertinent to agenda items. So this would be with regard to Article 22.
None.
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 No.
None. Okay. All right, public comment in-house. Any person shall be permitted to address. Do I need to move it farther away? I'm getting a lot of.
Go.
Okay. Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the PC. Public comments shall be carried out in accordance with the following rules and procedures. There are 2 opportunities for public comment, now and at the end of the meeting, and comments shall be directed to the PC with questions directed to the chair. Any person wishing to address the PC shall speak from the lectern, which is this table right here with the microphone, and state his or her name and address. Persons may address the PC on matters that are relevant to township planning and zoning issues, but not relevant to the zoning amendment being considered during the public hearing. You'll have an opportunity once the public hearing is open to speak about Article 22 violations. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding the time needed to answer a PC member's questions. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. In order to avoid unscheduled debates, the PC generally will not comment or respond to public comment. Silence or non-response from the PC should not be interpreted as disinterest. Is there anybody that would like to speak on any topics pertinent to the Planning Commission, but not Article 22? So we have a new gizmo mic. We've got a timer that you actually can see on Scott's PC. So to help you understand where you are with your time.
Mike Jacobson, Williamsburg, Michigan. The last planning commission meeting was the best one I've seen in a very long time. Though I wasn't there, I was able to watch it. In my opinion, the discussion about business along M72 is how the PC is supposed to work. Unlike the push to overregulate, over-landscape, and restrict a business's visibility on property that was purchased for its high visibility value, the business owners on the PC spoke up and explained to the rest of you how it works in the real world for the small business to get going and to operate. If the overburdening zoning is enacted or allowed to exist, then the only businesses our community will attract will be the corporate businesses. I have long been to understand, excuse me, I have long been under the impression that was not the goal in this community. I was very impressed with Sadie and Michael's comments on how they were able to get their message across to the rest of you. Randy's comments on why certain things like emergency vehicle access are important and were very helpful. And I believe this is how his knowledge should be applied. In my opinion, for far too long, both the board and the PC have looked to Randy to answer most issues because he understands how the government wants to see things operate. This is not only unfair to Randy, but also to the people of this community. In America, the government is supposed to carry out the wishes of the majority of the people. That principle applies to every level of government, all the way down to the townships like ours. As I understood Rod's comments on the civil infraction issue, and I apologize if I've misunderstood, it sounded like he was interested in some deliberation on the issue, hopefully because of something he has heard the public comment on. I understood him to ask, what is the hurry? I think I can safely say there is a large part of the community that is asking the same thing. The public has asked for, at the very least, to have a survey on this issue so we can see where the community really stands. This request has fallen on deaf ears, so we ask again, if you won't let us vote on this issue, then please survey the inhabitants of the township so we can all see the true sentiment of the township. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. For the people that just came in, I'm hoping that you grabbed a packet from, right at the entrance. And if you haven't, please do. So right now, we're doing public comment, and it is on any topic pertinent to the Planning Commission except the Article 22 violations. We'll be discussing that during the public hearing.
Well, I can start that off right now.
But the public hearing isn't open yet. We're
Oh,
just doing
okay.
public comment. Anyone else? So not on Article 22.
All right, that should be just fine with me.
Okay.
What do you need? My name and address, right?
Just your name.
All right. Jessica Mangus. This is just a quick comment, and to be completely honest, it was kind of the stall for time because I didn't want you guys to close the public comment while people were still grabbing those packets. This is a very nice day out, and there's a very big event here in town with some very challenging parking to get here tonight. So I'm guessing that a few people will probably trickle in thanks to that. That's about all.
Thank you.
Randy Steelman, Crisp Road, Williamsburg. I just wanted to say, I heard some good things about a couple meetings ago or so that you guys were really open-minded, and it sounded like you were taking people's suggestions and things like that, and making, not just following the leader kind of thing. And I was really thankful to hear some of that you guys are, I'm glad that to see people are thinking for themselves and making good decisions up here. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Thank you.
Lower after a few farm days. I'm Barb Dean, 8778-9010-9002. And I am going to just speak very quickly on the short-term rental survey process that I was on part of the committee for. And my understanding was the process, a winter meeting, and I think that was good, and that there was going to be a summer one or fall one sometime this time when people were back, and a survey. My biggest concern is the survey. in that the person or persons or organization who managed it, I never received mine. I called it. I have 3 resident address. They didn't come until the day before they were due. And I talked to other residents as my neighbor up the road. I went and checked on her because she hadn't been at the Friday market. And I said, what's wrong with you? What happened? Did you quit? And she said, no, I had a detached retina. I said, did you vote? She said, I never got a card. So I went and got the number down at my house. And I've heard that from a number of people. So I'm concerned that the survey didn't actually blanket like it was supposed to. And it was over holiday weekend. I called the young man. He said, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to take a vacation for the holiday. When they come in, I'll deal with them. Well, if they weren't arrived and it said it was due by then, people wouldn't have done it. And so I do have a concern that that card did not reach people like you thought it did. Okay, so I don't know the solution. I don't know what happened. But I do know myself at 3 residents' address, it didn't show up until the day before it was due. Okay.
Thanks, Barb. Any other public comment?
Hi, Jim Snyder, 8316 Old M72, downtown Williamsburg. Kind of what Mike had said, also kind of curious, what are the things, it kind of sounds like right now the civil infraction is mostly going to be focused on the junk ordinance and the parking issue. Am I correct on that?
Not that I know of, no.
Because that's what the civil infraction thing that I read and watched at the meeting and everything, and the stuff that I got was that number 38, and then the parking that's down on Baggses or whatever, that there's an issue down there. But I kind of assuming that when they first had talked about this, it was gonna be over everything, everything zoning general or zoning ordinance. And that's what I assumed, which by rights it should be. But I guess some of the things, what are the things that have come to front? Maybe you guys can tell us during the meeting tonight. What are the real urgent things? Like, is somebody dying? Something's happening to their property really bad? I understand that you said like some people are building on the property line over on other people's property, and a lot of that sounds like a civil matter, to handle in civil court. But I guess regarding zoning and stuff like that, what are the things that are really happening that we have to do this right now? That's what it seems like the township board is looking for. And I just, what I've kind of said at the other meeting that they had here in Elk Rapids, there's so vagueness in the ordinance between the junk ordinance and the outside storage ordinance and stuff. And it's like I've said for years, people don't understand what the difference is. And as far as the junk ordinance, if you can have things hidden behind a fence, it's legal. That really doesn't make any sense if they got something that's gonna be harming somebody. So I'm just trying to, where's the harm at? Is it somebody with their property values or something? What is going on that's really pushing this stuff, okay?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
So we'll be addressing that during the public hearing portion of the meeting. And right now we're just doing general public comment. So we're not really talking about the violations yet. But we will address your question. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah,
General comment. We can make comments. Glenn Savage, 9833 Finding Lane. We can make general comments about what's happening, right?
right. But we've asked, so we weren't,
Well, I want to know why it's happening here and not at our township hall in Whitewater Township, Grand Traverse County, instead of in Antrim County and the city of Elk Rapids. I want to know why that is happening when there's obviously only about 20 people here. I think our township hall is big enough to handle that. Am I mistaken?
were you at the
Am I
June
mistaken?
30th meeting?
Pardon?
Were you at the June 30th meeting?
Yes, I understand that,
Yeah.
but
That's
What-
why.
it's not.
We have no way of knowing how many people are gonna
I
show up.
understand that, but if there was too many people, then yeah, you could have transferred the meeting over to here.
but you try and have a meeting in your township at specified times for the general population to go to if they want to. If you cannot have that meeting there due to special circumstances, then you're allowed to transfer that meeting to another jurisdiction within the township. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. You're our planning commission. I have faith in you. I used to be on the planning commission. And I have a lot of faith in you. And I don't like what's going on in our township today. I understand, and there are remedies for it, but I don't want to go there. Just so you know.
Okay, thank you. All right. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing? It is 6:16.
I make a motion to open the public hearing for Article 22, merchant.
I second the motion, revamp.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. So the public hearing is officially open at 6:16 PM. And the date of the public hearing notice was July 7th in the Traverse City Record Eagle. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input on zoning ordinance amendment 2026-04, Article 22, violations. All right, thank you for being here tonight. We know it took extra effort for you to attend, given the event that is going on down the street. Please be aware that this time and venue was chosen some time ago, not knowing about the event. It's not easy to find a place that can accommodate a larger group of people who want to speak. We also must juggle individual schedules, so we have a quorum, meeting place availability, other township meetings, and Leah, which is Joe, our technical assistant, for to stream the meeting. In the past, other locations have presented technical problems, and we've tried our best to find a location that is available and suitable for all. So to address the comment that was made about why we are here, if we have a large turnout and we have too many people for the occupancy at the town hall, we have to shut the meeting down. So we can't even hold the meeting. So rather than run that risk based on the June 30th attendance, we moved the meeting here. And there is no, if I understand correctly, Randy, there is no rule that requires us to have it within Grand Traverse County.
Okay.
Yeah. Tonight, we're going to discuss civil infractions, and we look forward to providing information to you and hearing your comments. We are aware of misinformation floating out there, which is unfortunate. We're here to clarify and get the right facts out there. I also noticed that some of you were here on June 30th when the Township Board had a similar meeting, and you may be wondering why we're doing this again. In fact, what we're going to discuss is an amendment to just the zoning ordinance. I believe the June 30th meeting was a public hearing on the general ordinance. So the PC is only concerned with the zoning ordinance. According to state law, zoning amendments generally begin with planning commissions, and there is a process that must be followed. This process includes a public hearing, which is what we have tonight. At the hearing, the Planning Commission hears comments, then makes a recommendation to the Township Board. The Planning Commission can only recommend action. Final action takes place with the Township Board. So I want to give you a little bit of background. In 1972, Whitewater Township adopted a zoning ordinance, and there have been at least 80 amendments made to that zoning ordinance since that date. Most townships in Michigan switched from prosecuting all ordinance violations as criminal misdemeanors to processing them as civil infractions in 1994. This transaction was authorized by the state of Michigan, which amended the revised judicature, that's a hard one, act to allow municipalities to decriminalize certain ordinance violations and process them instead as municipal civil infractions. Before this legislation, all ordinance violations were criminal offenses. The 1994 change gave townships and other municipalities the flexibility to handle offenses such as local building, zoning, or public nuisance codes without saddling violators with a criminal record. Under this system, most local ordinance violations are resolved through civil fines rather than jail time. The Planning Commission has been working on updating and clarifying the zoning ordinance as the 2025 master plan requires. The amendment to Article 22 violations is part of this work and would bring Whitewater up to date with current accepted zoning practices. In your packet, you have a slide from the Township Attorney's June 30th presentation, which compares misdemeanor offenses to civil infractions, as well as the flow chart of the civil infraction process. As you can see, the first step in the process is in response to a complaint filed with the township. The zoning administrator then verifies whether or not there is noncompliance. You can also see that at every step in the process, there is the opportunity for compliance before a ticket is issued. Even after a ticket has been issued, there is still the opportunity to comply without a fine. If the case goes to court, there is still the opportunity to comply without incurring a fine. So pretty much at any point during the process, you can comply and you will not incur a fine. The amount of the fine is determined by the court, not by the zoning administrator, and is payable only after judgment is handed down. We have also included in the packet information received from the, and we just got it today, so it wasn't in the packet online, but I've included it in the hard copies. We've also included in the packet information received from the office manager of the district court describing the civil infraction process in court. Thank you all for being here tonight, and please remember to be respectful and quiet while others are speaking. So the document that we received from the district court is the last page of the packets that are out there, and it'll be added to the packet online, but we did just receive it today, and we felt that it clarified a number of issues, so we wanted to make sure that you had access to it. Okay, so we received 12 emails. 7 are against the the Article 22 amendment, and 5 are in support of the amendment. And so now we'll open to public comment. And now is your opportunity to speak about Article 22. You will be limited to 3 minutes per person, and you will not be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter. I'd like to start with those that are against the amendment, and then once those people are finished, we'll have people who are for the amendment speak. And again, similar to the public comment, questions shall be addressed through the chair during the public hearing. Planning Commission discussion and/or action shall take place following. Come on up.
Hey, Mike, you got it.
That's not true. I checked with the attorney.
Is your computer charging?
Yeah. No, mine's not.
Randy Steelman, Chris Road, Williamsburg. There, obviously we want to pass this. The people want to pass it for some reason. I'm a country bumpkin and I don't like this kind of stuff. We never needed one before. And everybody knows that we were fine. Just lately it's been an issue, but, I also know that I don't always get what I want in this world, and most people don't. So we always have to compromise and stuff like that. And so I'm understanding that there must be some reason that we need this thing. So if we do need this thing, it should at least be, reasonable. And a couple of the things immediately come to mind is that, every day is a new violation for $500 or whatever. Even that was brought up at that big meeting with the attorney, and he even said, well, they'll never, do that or whatever. Well, then why is it in here? And I think it's up to you guys to scratch that and say, look, we recommend that we don't do this because nobody in the township, that was one of the biggest hindrances of people being okay with this thing, is that is a huge, like, that just sounds like it's just here to wreck poor people or something like that. So that's a big deal. Some of the wording in this thing, the nuisance per se, You know, when I read that thing, this is just an HOA like you get in every stinking, you know, small, teeny tiny little subdivision complex that you live in. And this is a whole township, and we have huge differences between, you know, farm places and residential places and the lake people. And we are a little weird in that sense that we have a huge, you know, demographic of people we have, you know, and, just, there's an awful lot of, you know, I don't think a lot of the stuff needs to be in there. There's just too much rules, too much. And I know I'm against admittedly, I don't like a lot of rules. I like liberty, life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And to me, this is infringing on that. I just hope that you guys look at this really thoroughly and you know, some of these things can be scratched out of this thing and it could be simplified a little bit more. I mean, it's a lot better than the original one they tried to pass. But, I think, Tim Aaron said it best. We have to find something that the people will tolerate. And, you know, if something has to pass, you know, just please make it a little bit more tolerable before you guys send it off. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Von Savage. 9833 Pine Needle Lane. The last time I looked, we were still a democracy. And what you people are proposing is draconian. This is something that you see in Russia. This is something you see in Germany. And this is something you see in totalitarianism, not in a democracy. You are proposing sentencing people on these misdemeanors to a life of scrutiny. And I know I spent 31 and a half years in law enforcement. And I do not think we really want to go down this road. I respect our democracy. I respect mostly our government at most times. There are people that get into office that shouldn't be in office. And this is in all walks of life. This is in all forms of government, even down to our local government. And what I think you people should really look twice at this. Like I say, I was on the planning commission. I know how it functions, I know how it works, and it is there for the benefit of the people, for the good of the people. And I really, truly, in my heart, believe it's wrong.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak against Article 22?
Okay, I'm gonna just be honest to begin with. I came here like angry and I talked to a friend. I said, you need to talk me off the ledge because I feel like the civil infraction, it looks better in writing here, but I feel like the civil infraction is so targeted against the people that are trying to survive. And my son is trying to survive. People say, why don't you sell your property to a younger person? I am my son. And he had to return, cherries are going into the pits. Dennis and I are working free labor for him. I do the work, so he's not doing the labor. He has a $10,000 spray bill to pay today. People don't know that they're not really getting paid for those thousands of pounds of cherries that aren't there. They're going into pits. A lot of them, not a lot of them in the fresh market. The next batch we have goes to the fresh market. And we're trying to make it so he can pay his bills and get his feet under him and not be in debt, having the agricultural area that people moved here for. Honest to God, let's try to diversify and support people that are trying to do things that are legal and nice and use what you have. I mean, he had 2 houses on the property from great grandma Dean and a granary. And honest to God, I said, level them. I don't want to do it. And Dennis, being the good farmer, we should do something with them. Okay, stand back. I'm going to remodel them then. And I did. And then the thanks I get for that is, no, you're gonna get a fine. And I was so angry about that, and I just decided, okay, I'm here instead of being with my granddaughter that I flew to California to get, to be here and tell you that. When people come to my verbal, I send them to places like Myrtle and Maud's, go down there, love the cherry pie. I can't afford to eat it around my waist, but it is good. The cherry pie sundae, go to the restaurants on 72, go to Elk Rapids, go to the walk at the park down here. Taste the, Old Beck's mustard used to be down in the bay there. That was the coolest place. I love that mustard. Go taste that. Go to the market, go to White's, go to Elton's. I go down and check on those people. Honest to God, I can't believe why we can't work together to solve this instead of have to hit this over the head with a hammer. I don't get it. And my biggest thing is that daily charge. Somebody said to me once, well, it's not really going to be a daily charge. It says daily charge in this document. It says it. And so therefore it can be, and I don't think that's okay. So you've heard me. Thank you. I forgot to press the button. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go down to with my granddaughter. More compliments. Yeah.
Who's next?
Kim Angus. You all know where I stand on the civil infractions ordinance. If you've been to any meeting, which you're on the panel, you've been to meetings, you know I don't support it. I don't support it for the way it's going to be used. I don't support it because this is I've lost count, 5th or 6th meeting. So yeah, you see 20 people here. We had 70 people, and then we had 70 people again. And then we had 100 people, and then we had 125 people. This is a public hearing, and at this point, it's a formality because we all know the board's going to pass this. That's sad, knowing that there's a foregone conclusion, and they really don't give a rat's hiney what we have to say. The board is going to pass this, and there's nothing the planning commission can do about it. But you can let them know it's not okay. The public has been overwhelmingly against this change. It removes protections. It's already removed protections. We have a current zoning administrator that is going to people asking, and yes, I do mean Deb, and I do mean asking people to take photographs of their neighbors, to bring complaints when they didn't come to her with any complaint at all. They asked her about some form of zoning. Oh yeah, and by the way, take a picture of your neighbor. I don't have a problem with my neighbor. Well, just in case we need it. Not right. That's just a glimpse of things to come. This change removes a lot of the protections. Our criminal system is not perfect, but it has so many more off-ramps. I know that legally there has been made a route to do this. It doesn't mean that it's a good thing. It reduces our constitutional right to trial by jury. Every one of you, when you took this position, took an oath of office. I took it too. I took it for 15 years. To uphold the Michigan and United States Constitution. Recommending this to the board is a violation of that oath of office. This is a public hearing. I'm asking you to do what the board is not, to hear the public. I know most of you have been at other meetings. There's been certainly enough of them for you to hear the public, not just the ones here. There's 20 people here because most people have just given up. We don't want this. I understand it has to forward to the board, but it doesn't have to forward to the board at the very least with your support. And it doesn't have to forward to the board with the per day. The very least you can do is remove the 2 most offensive words. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
I'd like to dispute the claim that there is no rules saying that you have to stay in the town, to stay in your township. Robert's rules lays out parameters, procedures to the following of conducting public meetings. It distinctly says, quote, "A meeting of or assembly of a district board may be held within the geographical boundaries of a district unless the bylaws state otherwise." This is strongly reinforced by the Open Meetings Act. And the board's bylaws say the bylaws permit the public body to move the location to a larger appropriately sized public facility within the vicinity, local schools like Woodland School or Mill Creek Academy. This is neither in the vicinity or in the district or even in the right county. The oath you all took when you were appointed to this PC states that you will uphold the Constitution of both the United States and the state of Michigan. I now ask you, how many of you have read both of these documents in their entirety? If you've read them, do you understand that if it is not in the Constitution, you can't do it? As I understand it, zoning is only supposed to apply to health, safety, and welfare, and these terms can only be used in zoning accordingly to the context in which they are used in the Constitution. For example, the word safety, for the most part, is used for water and environmental issues and motor sports safety classes, and very little else. Therefore, you are not allowed to use it in any other way. I would like to know where you derive your legislative authority from. When I read the state constitution, it says in Article 4, Section 1, quote, "Except to the extent limited or abrogated by Article 4, Section 6, or Article 5, Section 2, the legislative power of the state of Michigan is vested in a Senate and a House of Representatives," unquote. Nowhere does it say that this board or any body in this township has that authority. Nowhere in the Constitution can I find where it says that they can delegate this authority to any other body. This makes me wonder if the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act and/or parts of it are constitutional. Just because an act was passed doesn't make it constitutional. Also, we are not an incorporated community. As I understand it, that means the township has no authority to zone private property. They can only zone the land. All the things on my land are my property, are my private property. So again, I ask you where you derive your legislative authority from. Your duty is to the public, not to the board. People who move to the country need to assimilate to country life. They wanted to come to the country and then they bring this, "I don't like what somebody does or has in their yard." We have or do what we do in our yard because that's what it took to survive here. And all of us don't have a big cushy job with a big cushy paycheck. The word nuisance in your thing is way too vague. You need, I mean, come on.
Mike, we've got to wrap it up. Thank you.
Jessica Mangus, 5101 Brown Bear Lane. I had a quick question about that whole length for a comment for a public hearing, or yeah, for the public hearing comment. So it's 3 minutes per topic, right?
3 minutes per person. You can't speak on the same topic more than once.
Okay, so like
You
if
can
I
come
have
up more than once if you're talking about a different topic.
okay, because I feel like that is very pertinent to know. I thought it would be like in the same string then. So if I want to talk about one topic and I run out of time, I need to go sit back down and then come back up, correct?
You'd only be allowed to speak again if you're speaking about a different topic.
Yes.
And we're talking about one topic right now, which is Article 22.
Okay, is that the only topic I can talk about then?
Right now, yes.
All right, that's all I really needed to know. The quick questions, was it mentions every day that such a violation continues shall constitute a separate or distinct offense. Does that shall indicate that it is a forced thing that you must comply with? Or does the shall still give the option for the forces that be the designees to decide whether they want to issue that ticket? Because if it shall constitute another offense, that means that your whoever is in charge of those tickets, would they be ignoring, say, 10, 20 separate offenses relative to somebody because they want to give them just the one ticket? In legal terms, that is.
Right. We will discuss that.
Okay, will there be an opportunity to comment about that after you've discussed it? Because I thought you guys discussed it earlier.
There,
And I saw that you could ask questions to the chair, so this was what I was trying to
right,
do.
right. But it's a big topic and are a big part of the Article 22 amendments. So that's something that the PC will definitely be discussing during our discussion time. And I think it'll help answer your questions.
Gotcha. Let's see, because I had written notes, but I wasn't quite sure what the time was going to be. I did have one question about the venue here. Should I save that for the public comment then at the end? Because it was something I was hoping for an answer on. How much money did it cost to have this particular venue for this group of people?
$200.
$200. All right, interesting. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else want to speak against the amendment to Article 22?
Jim Snyder again. Yeah, as far as like, they've made comments about the $500 each occurrence and stuff. I mean, that's something that's definitely really vague. And the attorney, when we heard him do his presentation, said that, he's never seen the judge do that, never whatever, but it's like, it should be written that it's not gonna happen. And that seems to be a lot of deal and, with everybody's concern. The HOA thing, I mean, a lot of the things, like the junk ordinance 38, things like that, it is gonna be hard on people. I might not be as, I mean, I'm kind of set in life as far as where I'm retired, things like that. Yeah, it could affect me a little bit financially and stuff. But people that are trying to like eke out a living in our township, it's getting harder and harder for people to have a place, to own a place, to do things. And sometimes they have to enjoy things at a smaller scale. And it takes having an extra car, extra snowmobile, extra whatever to do that. And you know what? People determine what junk is, that's another vague thing that we're gonna go ahead and enforce after this all gets, approved. And then we're gonna have to argue what that is. And I've been at that before 2 times, and that came out that junk wasn't really junk. It's a matter of opinion. Just because I have old things that are kind of cool and eclectic, maybe people don't like those because they like brand new things. That's their choice. I do my choice. I'm not hurting anybody. And a lot of these things are gonna come down to affecting people like that. So it's kind of like those that have don't want the other people to have. And I just hope it doesn't come down that way. And just let people kind of live their lives as long as they're not hurting anybody, hurting their safety, their health, things like that, whatever. Let's just kind of stay out of everybody's business and let them live their life as long as they're not affecting anybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yeah, hold on, just, can you wait? Is it okay?
Renee Savage, 9833 Pine Needle Lane. Boy, I don't want your guys' job. I'm on the fence for, against, and for. As a civilized society, we have to have rules, we have to have regulations. We all know that. We have speed limits. We have laws. How they're enforced is, so I agree we need the laws. I agree that we need some consequences. But I'm thinking that some of these consequences are really, really high, $500 a day. And who determines the violation? Been at other meetings where they said, the zoning administrator will take into consideration the complaints and so on and so forth. So that is one person
interpreting the violation. So I think that needs to be written clear what the violations are. And I think that the $500 is really ridiculous. I can understand fines to make people have some incentives to clean up. We have a situation in our subdivision. We don't have an HOA, and he parks all of his heavy equipment on a lawn in a beautiful subdivision. And we don't say anything because they're neighbors. So again, spying on our neighbors, taking pictures of our neighbors' property, that seems a little out there. I mean, that is more like the Nazis spying on the Nazis. So I just have a problem with that. Again, I'm on the fence because we have to have rules. We have to have regulations to be a civilized society. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, can you come up to ask your question, please?
I promise this is another question, another topic on someone else's behalf. I've been asked if the planning commission has the intention of reading the correspondence that came in, seeing as how none of it was obviously included. I'm assuming some of it came in. You said you were accepting it up until 5 p.m. today. And I've had a few folks that contacted me and said, but aren't they going to read my letter? And I was wondering if your intention was at some point during the public hearing to read the correspondence that came in.
Well, it was not my intention because because of the length.
There's 20 of us here and most of us are done.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know,
Mhm.
I have not brushed up on the legalities of it. My understanding was public hearing. You should hear the public and the public should hear the rest of the public. So, but it was a request from a couple of people that are on that list.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Are we done with the folks who want to speak against Article 22? Okay.
Mark Williams, I'm from Williamsburg. When I came to the meeting, I was going to speak for the ordinance. Well, I was going to speak for somebody else, but I've kind of changed my mind since I've been here. Probably the biggest thing is the $500, and there's a question on will or can. And we hear, well, we're not going to do that, but it says we can. And I heard those same words used in 72 at a Whitewater Township meeting, that we won't be doing that. We're just putting it in there. So the $500, I've got to sell a lot of asparagus to net $500. And apples, I don't think I could sell enough to net $500. And I also wanted to address what is junk. I spoke a couple of other meetings explaining some things, and one I kind of got drowned out by public comments, but it is a true story. A fellow that I know went to an auction and he bought a pile of scrap iron. Some people might have thought it was junk. He fabricates things. He pawed through it and he discovered some real interesting pieces in there that turned out to be a pair of exhaust pipes for a Duesenberg. And that pile of scrap iron netted him $40,000. It looked like a pile of junk, but it really wasn't. Now, another personal experience, a few years ago, we had a visit from our homeowners insurance agent. And we had this truck sitting out there. It didn't have license plates on it. And it had a pile of junk in the back of it. Some of you people may be familiar with a plow truck or a wood hauler. And the lady was working from a picture and she said, this looks like an old refrigerator or a freezer or something over here in the bushes. It's kind of a curved piece of metal. It was the plow for the plow truck. Net result, my insurance got canceled. I'd been with that particular company for 53 years. I'd never missed a payment and I'd never had a claim, but they canceled me because of my junk. Their description. As it worked out, I went to another insurance agency and saved $750. So it didn't work out all that bad. But the definition of it, who decides what is junk? It could be Duesenberg exhaust pipes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brenda Baker, 5982 Cook Road. I didn't really prepare anything, so I'll make it short and sweet. I'm against the Article 22. I think it's way too vague. And I think that we're getting the cart in front of the horse. I think we've got a couple hot topics like junk, like short-term rentals. I think that we need to figure those out first before blanketing this penalties and $500 up to, per day. I just think that it is, I just think it's not right. I think it's unfair. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read the emails that are against. The first one is from Eric Johnson. It was sent on July 21st. And he's traveling for work, so he's unable to attend. So he wanted to send a note articulating his opposition to the infractions ordinance with regard to zoning. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read and thoughtfully consider me and my family. We have a seasonal family cottage on Island Lake, which was in disrepair when we purchased it. My wife, 4 boys, and I have renovated it ourselves, and it has become our family's favorite place in the world. We were able to justify the investment based on the norms at the time, which we understood to permit short-term rentals. From the beginning, we planned to balance personal time at the cabin with rentals to make things sustainable. Without this ability, we will be forced to sell the property, which will be heartbreaking. I understand the need for an infraction ordinance for parking and noise violations, and I'm in favor of short-term rental regulations which purge disrespectful behavior, but I cannot understand why the township wishes to push regulations which will punish responsible families like ours. Our family has a great relationship and reputation with our neighbors, which has never been compromised, whether we are renting, sharing with friends and family, or staying ourselves. We are invested in our community, and I voluntarily sit on our Island Lake Association board. For us, it feels prejudicial to be lumped in with irresponsible owners who take from the community when our track record exemplifies how much care about our impact, how much we care, I think he means, about our impact. Pardon me? Oh, sorry. Okay. Where was I? Per my note above, I have legitimate concerns about the way an infraction ordinance based on zoning will create a guilty until proven innocent situation. From the beginning, our heart has been to maintain a sustainable balance between renting and personal use while also reserving time to share our cottage with friends and family. What will happen if we are accused of family or friends being rental guests? Will I need to pay court fees to prove that we are sharing our property with our loved ones? Who in the community will know the difference, and what will stop them from making prejudicial accusations at no personal cost, presenting a legal defense cost to my family? As the only mixed ethnicity family in the Island Lake community, I can assure you that accusations rooted in thoughtless bias are not a far-fetched scenario. And I am particularly concerned about assumptions which may be made based on the diversity of family and friends that we welcome to share our cottage. How will this ordinance avoid empowering prejudicial behavior? I wish I could ask the last question in person. Please note that it is a genuine question, not an accusation. In summary, the past year has felt like an uphill struggle to have our voice heard. Obviously, I would never have chosen Whitewater Township for our family had I known that norms around short-term renting would change, and that our property investment, responsible behavior, and neighborly commitment would be met with such little consideration. But here we are. Our family memories are here, and we love our cottage. Please consider the impact that this issue has on those of us stuck in the middle. We will be forced to sell if compromise is not possible. Thank you, Eric Johnson. The next one is from, I'm afraid I'm going to butcher the name. I'm very sorry. Gaurav Chada. My name is Gaurav, and along with my wife, Adrian, we own the property on 9357 Fairview Road. We are writing this email to voice a concern and possibly to get feedback on a question of ours. Even though both of us welcome the CIO Civil Infraction Ordinance initiative, we strongly oppose the draft currently written. In the last hearing, the Whitewater Township attorney stated that a judge wouldn't go for the daily fines that are in the ordinance language. Yet the draft has continued to keep it in. My question is, who decides that a violation has been resolved, and how can it be proven that it was resolved under resolution in X days, in quotes, which would define the schedule of fines? And what happens if the resident is found to be correct? Is the township responsible for covering their legal fees? So while we agree that civil infraction ordinance as a tool is useful, we are against the language currently adopted. We are open to being educated if our understanding is incorrect and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Gaurav. The next one is from Kelly Jo Bowman. Thank you. Okay, thanks. I'm writing in opposition. Oh, that's much better. I'm getting feedback here. I'm writing in opposition of passing the civil infraction ordinance. So then there are a series of bullet points. Disproportionately targets the underprivileged, will only cause heartache and deeper debt for those who may not even have enough money for food, bills, gas, insurance, and healthcare. There have been many suggestions that can help solve in some of the issues you are looking to resolve. Current ordinances in place. So many ways to be good stewards of the community to help people rise up rather than push them down and pin neighbors against neighbors. The money spent on attorney fees could have been used to help pay for the removal or pay for junkyard fees. Oh. It's the fridge. I go forward. Do you want to move up? I don't know what to tell you. I don't think I can turn off the fridge. Yeah, yeah. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Is that okay, Joe? Okay. There's ways to assist even if you can't assist everyone. I have asked to be on resident committees. I've expressed my professional experience and feel I could bring a lot to the table and assist in creating and presenting solutions with clear path to achievement. I was disappointed to have not even been considered or contacted. I'm not sure what she's referring to there, but that's okay. I really love Williamsburg. I like my neighbors. I like our differences, even with their stuff or their constant barking dogs or whatever. We're all just doing the best we can, and we're kind to one another. We help bring up each other's garbage cans. We grab deliveries for them when they're not home. We lend and borrow things to each other. The neighbor against neighbor finger pointing sounds volatile and sad. I'm truly confused why there's so much drive for change when every meeting is full of residents opposed. It would seem different if the other side was screaming too. It may help people understand more of what the clear goal you are trying to reach. I hate that people get heated and ugly. It's so uncomfortable and sometimes a little scary. I feel for you. It can't be easy, but it seemed really clear at the last meeting that people are not feeling heard. It would be nice to hear a response from you to the residents. Communication, our town, I am reading this verbatim. This isn't a communication, comma, our township's future should be a conversation. It's so hard to sit and hear so much opposition to all of what you are working on and not receive some response to why the determinations continue to seem to bend against what the residents desire. Words of compromise, words of let's find a way to make this work. I'm unable to attend the meeting on Wednesday. I hope folks are kind. I hope folks feel heard. I hope it's a productive meeting. Thank you for your consideration, Kelly. Okay, the next one is from Michelle Roref. Please include in tonight's 7/22/26 minutes. I opposed to passing the civil infraction ordinance. It is important to listen to the community, and it is in everyone's best interest to take the time to improve the entire zoning ordinance in order to have a strong foundation to build on. Thank you. Jason Roref. Please include in the meeting minutes for tonight. I oppose passing the civil infraction ordinance. It is imperative that the board listens to the community who's strongly against the CIO. It is crucial to first improve the entire zoning ordinance. Thank you. This one is from Tom. That's all I have. Hello, I received the following information from a Whitewater Township resident that is fearful about giving out their personal information and asked me to pass their statement along to the board. Here's my statement. I am totally against the civil infractions, and it will only cause harm to the community. Neighbors turning on neighbors, and then the lawyers will be making all the money, as the township will end up getting sued or even end up going to court. There is a no-win situation for the general public. This only creates problems, not solving problems. Right? Whitewater Township is not an HOA. Rescind this now and start over. Come up with a plan that is a win-win for everyone, not just the few. Okay. This is from Rachel Steelman. Please share with the PC, as I'm unexpectedly unable to attend the in person this evening. I want to recognize the important role the Planning Commission serves and the responsibility that comes with it. You are an independent body. As you know, you are here to represent the diverse residents, property owners, and businesses throughout our township, to listen to public input and to make recommendations based on your own judgment. Over the past several meetings, I've been encouraged by your willingness to ask questions, consider different viewpoints, and genuinely listen. I hope you'll continue doing exactly that. I respectfully ask that you recommend against the zoning amendment. In my opinion, it is not ready. It lacks an internal appeal process, provides no clearly defined fine schedule or meaningful due process protections, encourages neighbor against neighbor complaints, and grants enforcement authority without sufficient safeguards against the potential for abuse. Additionally, the zoning ordinance itself still needs work to ensure it aligns with the township's master plan, provides clear and consistent standards, and creates a document that residents, property owners, businesses, and township officials can all understand and follow. I recognize that this is an ongoing effort and that work is actively being done to improve and clarify the ordinance. Recommending adoption of an enforcement policy before the underlying zoning ordinance is fully reviewed and refined is putting the cart before the horse and could potentially create unnecessary confusion, disputes, and additional challenges. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to say that this isn't the right zoning ordinance at the right time. Taking the time to improve the zoning ordinance before adopting an enforcement policy is a sign of good planning, not an obstacle to it. It allows the township to create a complete, thoughtful, and workable framework that residents and officials can understand and follow. Thank you for your time and service, Rachel Steelman. Okay, that's the correspondence that is against the amendment to Article 22. Can we now hear from people who are in support of Article 22?
Tom Slopsma, 9693 Miami Beach Road. My understanding is that junk was not a part of Article 22. Well, I'm not talking about that. At the June 30 public comment meeting, I heard a Williamsburg property owner lady tell that she spent a day or more in jail over a township zoning violation issue. This is the single biggest reason to change to a civil infraction enforcement policy. Her example of jail time should give the township a 1000% sense of urgency to change to civil infraction enforcement to help protect our residents from themselves.
As I stated in the June 30 public comment, changing to civil infraction allows us property owners to choose an informal hearing to avoid high defense attorney costs. It has no threat of jail time and no threat of a criminal record. The civil infraction option is much lower cost for us property owners, is much more property owner friendly than our current process, and has an impartial judge or mediator determining the outcome. 20 years ago, the Michigan legislature passed Public Act 110, the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, for townships to treat zoning violations as civil infractions with civil fines. Part of the reason for Public Act 110 was to protect residents from being jailed over zoning violations, like the June 30 lady story. I also see changing to a civil infraction as an improved tool for the zoning administrator to do their job. Many of us invested much of our life savings into our homes. I depend on the township to protect my property value by following its zoning ordinances. For example, permitting only legal structures, keeping commercial activities in commercial zone districts out of our residential neighborhoods, and the like. Changing to civil infraction looks like a positive tool for the township to protect our property values. Whitewater has had zoning ordinances as far back as 1972. Lifelong residents who established the original township zoning laws in Whitewater were responsible people with good visions of an orderly future for this township. But you've heard a lot of comments from folks saying that many ordinances are unfair, bad, or messed up. If these voices are the majority, they would have voted to repeal these ordinances at that time. In summary, I support changing zoning enforcement from criminal to civil infraction to protect our citizens from going to jail over a zoning issue and to reduce property owners' defense costs. I support changing zoning enforcement to civil infraction to help the zoning administrator do their job to protect our lifetime home investments. And in support of the rights of the folks who want to maintain the current criminal enforcement and jail time for zoning issues. If they truly are the majority, they can vote this down in a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Dan Soper, 8107 Old M72. I was at the last meeting. I spoke up and then I left. And after I spoke, I call him Junkyard Jim, was bashing me. He says, I'm a new kid in town. I come in and I want everybody to change everything. That's not true. I have the place on the corner. He says it's pristine. You call it what you want. I don't think it's pristine, but I mow my yard. I don't have it full of junk. In 62, I went to high school in Elk Rapids, but I dated a girl on Vinton Road in 1962. And the garage, it wasn't a gas station, it was a garage on the corner of Old 72. He used to fix my cars when I was a senior. Jim's building that he lives in now was a store. I bought stuff, so I don't think I'm a new kid in town. But the thing of it is the rules are written to be taken, they're written for a reason. And Deb's trying to do her job. And Jim's thought is that he tells her, well, I've got money saved. You take me to court, I got money saved. Well, why don't you just fix it? Save your money. Move the stuff back. I get along with all my neighbors, probably get along with Jim if he knows me better. I take care of my stuff because I don't want all the neighbors seeing my stuff. I called it junk. Maybe I misspoke. It's stuff, okay? I have stuff. I have junk. I put it in the back where nobody has to look at it. He puts his out by the road where everybody's got to look at. Every time I go by there, it just makes me mad. So civil infraction sounds like the way to confront this. They have their day in court. They can do what they want to do, but she needs the authority to do it. You have the laws. Why are they written if you can't enforce them? Why do we have boards if you can't enforce them? That's why we have these, so that stuff like this, whether it's a neighbor or not, if the neighbor's not in violation, you don't have to worry about it. A lot of the people speaking are in violation. So of course they're going to speak against it. I'm not for laws and regulations. I they're there for a reason and I try to abide by them, but I don't want everybody to have every little thing corrected. I think Deb's going to do a good job. I think she's going to do what she feels is right. And the judge has the right to do whatever. So I really hope you can pass this and I hope someday Jim and I can be friends, but if he has all his stuff and wants to move it out somewhere else, the town was pristine when I was going to school. Now drive through it and see, it's not pristine anymore. And it's really almost embarrassing. We got a nice tennis court, we got all the nice stuff there, and then we have the junkyard. And if he wants that stuff, that's good. And it's not all junk, and junk sometimes is still good. But you got to put it where people don't have to, everybody in the town don't have to look at it. And I hope that someday we can resolve this and be friends, and hopefully all these other people, there's business in town, there's farmers. I'm friends with a lot of them. And they have stuff and they have junk, but they don't put it right out to the road right away. Road right away is already asked him to move stuff several times. And it's just common courtesy. If you want to get along with your neighbors, move your stuff back where they can't see it. He's got too much stuff. He can't move back, but whatever. I just hope you pass it. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm reading letters. Okay, the first one is from Greg Zenas. Dear board members, planning commission and zoning administrator, I support changing Whitewater Township from municipal infractions to civil infractions. This change makes sense. It will save taxpayers money, make it easier to enforce our ordinances, and help our zoning administrators spend more time working with people instead of dealing with a long legal process. Civil infractions still hold people accountable, but they are a better and fairer way to handle, ordinance violations. Please vote to approve this recommendation. Thank you. This one is from Heidi Volmuth. Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, I sat where you are sitting. Let's finish the plan. It's a matter of the greater good. Our present costs of enforcement is outweighing the means of expenses. The planner and planning commission have done their job efficiently and effectively. Now challenge the township board to do theirs. The question before us tonight is really very simple. Does Whitewater Township need an effective way to enforce the ordinances that already exist? I believe the answer is yes, because the need outweighs the want. Some residents have said they don't want a civil infractions ordinance because they don't want zoning enforcement. But wanting fewer rules doesn't change the fact that Whitewater Township is and has long been a zoned community. The voters and elected officials have made that choice to protect the health, safety, welfare, and character of our neighborhoods. We are a zoned community because zoning protects us from ourselves. It creates reasonable standards so that one property owner's choices don't negatively impact their neighbors or the community as a whole. Without enforcement, ordinances become optional, and those who follow the rules are placed at a disadvantage compared to those who don't. A civil infractions ordinance doesn't create a single new zoning regulation. It simply gives the township a civil process to enforce the ordinances that are already on the books. It provides due process while avoiding criminal penalties for most violations. This isn't something unique or to argue about. The vast majority of Michigan townships use civil infractions to enforce their local ordinances. Here in our region, neighboring townships such as Garfield, Acme, Blair, East Bay, Elmwood, Clearwater, Fife Lake, Leland Peninsula, Long Lake, and Milton all have civil enforcement in place because they recognize that education should come first. But there also has to be accountability when voluntary compliance fails. This discussion isn't about taking away anyone's property rights. It's about ensuring that the same rules apply equally to everyone. That's what good government looks like, and that's why I encourage the board to adopt the civil infractions ordinance. Okay. The next one is from Jeff Zenas. Dear Whitewater Township board members, planning commission members, and zoning administrator, I'm writing to express my support for the recommendation to transition Whitewater Township's ordinance enforcement from municipal infractions to civil infractions. This change is not about weakening enforcement, it is about making enforcement more effective. Local ordinances only work if they can be enforced in a timely, practical, and consistent manner. The current municipal infraction process is cumbersome, time-consuming, and more expensive than necessary. As a result, violations can take longer to resolve, consume valuable township resources, and place unnecessary burdens on both staff and taxpayers. Civil infractions provide local governments with a more efficient enforcement tool while still holding violators accountable. They allow the township to address violations promptly, encourage compliance, and reserve more serious legal action for those who repeatedly refuse to follow the law. I also believe this change better reflects the true purpose of zoning enforcement. The zoning administrator's role is not simply to issue citations. It is to educate property owners, answer questions, and help residents understand and comply with township ordinances. A civil infraction process supports that mission by making compliance the primary objective while preserving enforcement authority when education alone is not enough. Whitewater Township should not maintain a more punitive enforcement system simply because it has always existed. Good government requires us to periodically evaluate our policies and adopt approaches that are more efficient, more cost-effective, and more consistent with the practices used successfully by other Michigan townships. I appreciate the work that has gone into this recommendation and encourage you to approve the transition to civil infractions. It is a practical improvement that will strengthen ordinance enforcement, make better use of taxpayer dollars, and support township staff in carrying out their responsibilities. Thank you for your time, your service, and your consideration. And the last one, is that the last one? No, there's two more. From Julie Zenas, dear Whitewater Township Board members, Planning Commission members, and Zoning Administrator, I am writing to respectfully encourage you to approve and adopt the current recommendations to transition Whitewater Township's ordinances enforcement process from municipal infractions to civil infractions. Whitewater Township is one of the few townships in our region that continues to rely on an unnecessarily punitive municipal infraction process. Most neighboring communities have adopted civil infractions because they provide an effective, fair, and practical means of enforcing local ordinances while maintaining accountability. This proposed change benefits everyone involved. For residents, a civil infraction process is less punitive while still ensuring that ordinance violations are addressed appropriately. The goal of zoning enforcement should be to achieve compliance, not to unnecessarily penalize property owners who are willing to correct violations once they understand the requirements. For taxpayers, civil infractions reduce the costs associated with enforcement. A streamlined process conserves township resources, minimizes legal expenses, and allows taxpayer dollars to be spent more efficiently. Perhaps most importantly, this change will better enable our zoning administrator to perform the role she was hired to do. Effective zoning administration is built on education, communication, and working collaboratively with residents to achieve compliance whenever possible. A civil infraction process supports that mission by encouraging voluntary compliance first, while still providing an enforcement mechanism when necessary. This recommendation represents a balanced approach that protects our ordinances, treats residents fairly, reduces costs, and brings Whitewater Township in line with the practices of many other Michigan townships. I appreciate the thoughtful work that has gone into developing this recommendation, encourage both the Planning Commission and Township Board to move forward with the adoption. Thank you for your service to our community and for your consideration. Okay, last one. Sent by Spence. I am compelled to weigh in on this amendment. I support any measure that resolves ordinance violations efficiently and without unnecessary attorney involvement. Why should taxpayers be burdened with the court costs generated by a small number of people who choose not to follow duly adopted ordinances? I do not believe that is the right approach. I own my home and I pay my taxes. Homeownership and paying taxes are fundamental responsibilities. Nowhere does it say that I should also have to pay for the consequences of others' decisions to violate our local ordinances. We live in a zoned township. Those who prefer not to live under zoning regulations have many communities available that do not have zoning. If you choose to live here, you should be willing to comply with the rules that protect our community. The majority should not bear the financial burden created by a small number of people who knowingly disregard our zoning and general ordinances or operate short-term rentals in violation of the rules. If you cannot and will not comply with the ordinances, this may not be the right community for you. Likewise, if you believe the tax burden here is unacceptable, there are other places that may better fit your preferences. We are fortunate to live in one of the most beautiful places on earth. We have a responsibility to protect our natural environment and preserve the character of our community for future generations. We should all strive to be good neighbors. We do not have to agree on everything, but we should treat one another with respect and follow the rules we have established together. It is time to return to the basics of fiscal responsibility and accountability. Let's do the right things for the right reasons. Okay, that concludes the correspondence both against and for the amendment to Article 22. Where is my agenda? Oh, okay. Has everybody had a chance to speak who wanted to speak? All right. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, Merchant, to close the public hearing
Second, Trumbull.
at 7:20.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, the motion passes. Okay, so the public hearing is now closed at 7:20. And we have some correspondence regarding short-term rentals. From Jolene Hofer, I'm a resident of Whitewater Township and I support keeping short-term rentals legal. I believe there are ways to protect our community without banning short-term rentals altogether. For example, requiring owners to live in their home for at least 6 months of the year would help prevent large corporations or investors from buying up properties solely for commercial purposes. For many of us, short-term rentals are not about running a large business. They're a way to get ahead financially. The additional income helps families pay their mortgage, build savings, and create a more secure future for their children. It also seems unfair that people who own vacation homes here only live in them during the summer and are not affected in the same way can have such a significant influence over decisions that impact year-round residents and working families. Our township is located just a couple of miles from the horse show, which brings visitors to the area throughout the summer. Those visitors need places to stay, and local homeowners are in a unique position to provide that lodging while supporting the economy. I respectfully ask the township to consider reasonable regulations that protect our neighborhoods instead of an outright ban. And there's one more. Hold on. This one is from Alexandria Wallinger. Dear Whitewater Township representatives, I'm deeply disturbed by the attempt to limit short-term rentals in our community. My family has had property in Whitewater for 30 years, and my mother grew up in Traverse City. We currently have 5 properties on Elk Lake. We have had rentals next door in the past, off and on for more than 2 decades, and with rare exception, there's never been an issue. It is extremely unjust that neighbors would try to limit the opportunity for local families to generate extra revenue to afford the astronomical cost of the property taxes that go into maintaining a lake house in our community. The main objection to STRs seem to be noise, trespassing, loss of privacy, but these issues already have a solution in local enforcement. Those neighbors who complain about short-term rentals are the same ones who complain that someone is having a bonfire at 10 p.m. on Saturday night or riding jet skis at 8 in the evening in the middle of summer, whether they are owners or guests. It's frankly none of my neighbors' business how I use my property as long as it doesn't disturb them. Just like it shouldn't be my business to tell them they can't mow their lawn on Saturday morning if I worked the night before. Whether I have large party with guests, I loan it out to family and friends, auction it off for a local charity, or rent it out as an STR, that is my business as long as it is respectful and not creating a nuisance. No one should have a right to tell others how to live. It's my property, my choice. Okay. I think that's the reason that I don't typically read them, is that it's quite a bit of time, and they are on the public record. They're available at the township hall, but once I started, I couldn't seem to stop. Okay, our next meeting is at 7 PM on August 5th at Whitewater Township Hall. So we'll now open the floor to public comment, and the same rules apply. Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the PC. Public comments shall be carried out in accordance with the following rules and procedures. Comments shall be directed to the PC with questions directed to the chair. Any person wishing to address the PC shall speak from the lectern and state your name and address. You may address the PC on matters that are relevant to township planning and zoning issues. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding the time needed to answer a PC member's questions, and public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. In order to avoid unscheduled debates, the PC generally will not comment or respond to public comment. Silence or non-response from the PC should not be interpreted as disinterest. Would anyone like to, oh, Kim. Go ahead.
I mean, they can hear me, but I just have a procedural question. You indicated earlier that you were going to discuss the proposed amendment. Why are we going to public comment? You haven't discussed anything yet.
Right. So it is a second opportunity for you to make a comment if you want to speak about Article 22 or anything else.
So are you going to discuss it after public comment?
Yep.
Thus meaning we will have no opportunity to comment on your discussion or decision?
Yep.
That's a very, no meeting that I've ever attended has functioned in that order. That is not your typical, per your bylaws, agenda.
Right, but this is a special meeting, so the agenda is not typical.
So you decided that you wanted to have public comment in a manner that did not allow commentary on your decision. I'm not saying this to be mean, I'm just saying this does not make sense, your current order of operation. And I guess maybe I'm also asking if you could reconsider
Okay.
moving public
I'll put
comment
that-
to
I'll
where
put
it
that-
should be.
Let's put that before the PC then.
you.
Would we like to, we accepted the agenda as it was written, but I don't see why we can't change our minds if we want to do that. How does everybody feel?
I feel like that's how it always has been, so in order to maybe keep the peace, we should just keep it how we always do it.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
So-
PC discussion too.
pardon me?
I'd like to see PC discussion before public comment.
Okay.
And after.
Okay,
And
so then I think I need a motion to change the agenda.
I make a motion to change the agenda to have PC discussion before public comment and again after.
Again
it will
after.
be commented, followed by adjournment.
Second,
Second, Trumbull.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we will move on to PC discussion. So we are discussing the amendment to Article 22. And we'll just go around the table. Denise, would you like to start?
Sure. I have a written statement that I'm going to read. Our challenge is to protect the things we love about our township, recognize the different views of our neighbors, and establish ordinances that we can all live by. I have listened to the public concerns and comments, including all the correspondence submitted. Our task is to balance the individual rights of each property owner with the township's responsibility to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the township residents or the community rights of their neighbors. We live in a zoned community. Zoning began in 1972 and evolved over the years to protect the rights of all township residents and our environment. Our township has been evolving and growing over the years, and our zoning ordinances and general ordinances have been reviewed and rewritten to reflect these changes while protecting property rights, property values, and maintaining the rural character of our community. Most other townships in northern Michigan employ the civil infraction ordinance to ensure compliance with their zoning regulations. This is considered best practice and is preferred by most townships over criminal prosecution, since it avoids the expense of a criminal trial and it does not subject the property owner to the risk associated with criminal prosecution. The civil infraction ordinance is a more efficient use of our tax dollars, allowing the township to use the money to make any improvements needed in the township. Using the court magistrate or judge provides an impartial hearing of both the township and the property owner's sides of the disagreement. The civil infraction ordinance is an enforcement policy change to existing ordinances, but it does not change any ordinance. Under the current code enforcement policy and procedure manual effective 1/2/2012, at every step of the process, the zoning administrator works to bring the violation into compliance with the ordinances through education, providing options to comply with the ordinance within 60 days or more, and bring the violation into compliance with existing regulations. Non-compliance tickets would be the last resort. If a ticket is issued, the complaint goes directly to the district court for an impartial formal hearing is what is recommended by the township attorney. This allows for a quick decision and resolution for the township and the property owner. Compliance is the desired outcome of a civil infraction hearing, and the court decision does not result in a criminal charge. If the case goes against the property owner, currently the fine is usually between $200 to $500 per charge. In surrounding townships with the civil infraction ordinance, which I've called a few, it is rare to write a ticket. Even in the court hearing, the goal is the compliance with the ordinance, work through the situation, and at times the ticket may be dismissed with compliance. If there is a fine, it is set by the court, not the township. For the reasons stated above, I support the change in Article 22.001, changing the penalties from a criminal to a civil infraction. The wording of the penalties needs to be clarified on the $500 per day to $500 per charge or ticket. Continued violation of the same ordinance by the same property owner would need to be addressed as well. All of your thoughts and your solutions are important, and your comments are important to us. If you want changes to a zoning ordinance, please get involved by attending the Planning Commission's public meetings. The Planning Commission's agenda is posted on the Township website and available in the Township Government Center, AKA Township Hall. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, August 5th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Rod?
Yes, I think a lot of the things that were just mentioned, I think do justify consideration of the CI approach to dealing with the blight conditions or inability for some people to follow the various zoning the various zoning ordinances that exist today. And just to go back to a little bit of history, I do remember sitting in this audience maybe back 2012, and the issue at the time was 5 acres or larger for properties that were in, let's call it a wilderness or a forest area. And this happened to be near Island Lake, where my wife and I have a home. And there was a big push to make that smaller. And there was a large group of people, Island Lake people were part of the group that were upset.
because a developer wanted to come in and build somewhere near 120 homes on 120 acres. The impact of the potential development was reviewed by a forestry person and an expert in the field. And there were some major impacts on Island Lake. So as a steward of environmental issues, I took a very strong stand that that is not the kind of development you want to put in the middle of a forested area. Then that same property was looked at as a potential home for the horse show. And you can imagine the horse show has some issues and some impact on water quality and such. So we again had to challenge the leadership that was in Whitewater Township. So what's happening is nothing new. There are good steward practices that need to be followed. One of them, I think, came up in the master plan that was created in 2023 and officially adopted in 2025. And that was, we have a problem with dealing with the offenders of the various ordinances. I've never seen data that tells me how many of these were resolved peacefully, but I know we ended up in court quite a number of times. Going to court is not a good answer for the township, nor is it for the homeowner. I think the civil infraction approach is a much cleaner and appropriate venue to deal with noncompliance with ordinances. And in our 2025 master plan, it was agreed by the groups sitting here, different people, that we would push that into a position where we would be able to present this, a new program to deal with junk, blight, or noncompliance. We said we were going to do it in 1 to 2 years. We're there. I have to admit that Whitewater Township, 2 boards were involved in the master plan. Both boards supported what is happening today. Maybe the outcome is different, but this group and other groups are pushing to complete the things that we've been saying. Most of the zoning administrators that I've dealt with in the last 10 years have left because we had very poorly written, documented ordinances. It was very hard for them to explain to somebody who wanted to do something in this township. And lo and behold, something would be done wrong. And we did not have the ability to go and challenge that individual because we were very, very weak in follow-up to issues as a result of violating the ordinances. So I think that's a really big step forward. And it's an opportunity to clean up something that historically I've seen, and it shouldn't be in our way. The second is short-term rentals. When we were working on the master plan, short-term rentals came up also. And there is certainly a division in this community. And we said that we will take this on as an issue and look at ordinances, look at, does it fit in our township? Does it not? And we said, it is a short-term goal to be met in 1 to 2 years. We are here. And again, that's this township and the past board working to move this stuff forward that never really was delivered as a package that flowed together and allowed people to come into this community and build with a organized set of ordinances that would help them create the property or create the environment that fit this idea of a rural community. So to me, the time is here to address these two issues. They are the biggest issues I've heard in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So I think it's time to deal with those issues. That's all I have.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Okay. This amendment to Article 22.01 and 22.02 transitions Whitewater Township from an outdated criminal misdemeanor enforcement structure to a modern municipal civil infraction system. Under the old rules, zoning violations were treated as crimes, carrying a penalty of up to 90 days in jail and a maximum $100 fine. Shifting to a civil ticket structure completely decriminalizes minor zoning issues by taking jail time off the table and lowering the standard of proof to simply showing that a violation is more likely true than not. This pivot protects taxpayer dollars because the township will no longer have to spend public funds on prosecutors or endure drawn-out criminal trials just to get a property issue fixed. Furthermore, the new text modernizes our enforcement by explicitly naming LLCs, corporations, and associations alongside individuals. This closes a critical loophole, ensuring that commercial entities, large-scale operations, and out-of-town corporate landlords cannot hide behind corporate structures to escape property maintenance codes. It is important to emphasize to the public that Whitewater Township has always been a zoned community, but we are not an HOA. HOAs regulate paint colors and landscaping aesthetics, where zoning exists strictly to protect basic health, safety, and core land use compatibility, which is all a part of our master plan. I fully support property rights, and this update continues to protect those rights by ensuring code enforcement is predictable and fair. To address public concerns regarding snitch culture or pinning neighbors against neighbors, the updated Appendix C policy framework establishes a clear professional buffer. The system remains complaint-driven, which it always has been, but a resident cannot simply demand that a neighbor receive an immediate ticket. The zoning administrator or supervisor must act as a neutral referee, independently investigating each complaint to verify objective photographic or legal proof of an actual violation. If a complaint is born out of a personal backyard grudge and no rule is broken, the township drops the case entirely. Crucially, Appendix C protects residents by mandating a collaborative workflow before any penalty is issued. If a violation is verified, the township first makes direct contact and sends a formal warning letter. Appendix C also offers a formal compliance agreement, which is a signed cooperation contract that pauses enforcement so the resident and the township can work together to fix things. However, the current Appendix C flow sheet is missing a defined timeline by number of days. I strongly suggest we edit Appendix C to explicitly establish a mandatory 14-day timeline following that warning letter, giving residents a clear and fair window to bring the property into compliance or enter into an agreement before a ticket can legally be cut. I know that there is a perception in this community that the amendment is being custom created right now just to target and punish STRs. While I hence the cart before the horse comments. While I completely understand how it can be perceived that way, given recent local debates, that is simply not the case. In fact, I view this as the opposite. This text applies equally to every ordinance, property type, business, and structure across the entire township to ensure uniform standards. Right now, our only option is criminal court and to threaten 90 days in jail. This is extreme, outdated, and wastes taxpayer money. By establishing a fair and civil ticket system, we are actually preparing the horse. It is fixing a broken engine on a cart that is already moving. This will give us a fair, tested, non-criminal framework ready to handle the future plans for the township. However, two major technical flaws remain in the ordinance text that must be corrected by legal counsel before it goes to the township board. First, the draft implements a flat fine of not more than $500,000. Under the Michigan law 42.21, general law townships are strictly capped at a $100 fine for a first-time civil infraction. A $500 fine can only be assessed for repeat chronic offenses. Our direct neighbors, including Acme and Milton Townships, protect their residents and their legal liability by using a graduated fine structure, 100 for the first offense, 250 for the second, and capping at 500 only for subsequent violations. I believe we should include a tiered scale into our text. Secondly, because the ordinance dictates that each day a violation continues constitutes a separate offense, daily compounding fines can rapidly climb into thousands of dollars. We must add a safe harbor or trolling provision to protect the due processes. This clause must explicitly freeze the daily compounding fine meter the moment the resident enters either a compliance agreement, exercises their legal right to file a formal appeal with the Zoning Board of Appeals, or request a formal district court hearing. This prevents cooperative residents from facing financial ruin due to court or administrative backlogs while they wait for their day in court. Finally, as a member of the Planning Commission, I want to voice my personal feelings regarding the rules we are actually enforcing tonight. Serving on this board specifically to represent our agricultural community, I deeply love our rural way of life, our open spaces, and our farming heritage. Because of that, I am the first to admit that the definitions we currently have in Article 5, especially regarding outdoor storage and what constitutes junk, are outdated and far too subjective. Vague rules places our farmers and rural landowners at risk of arbitrary enforcement. While tonight we must focus strictly on fixing the enforcement framework of Article 22, we must also remind our residents that our land use rules are not written in stone. If you don't agree with the existing zoning rule, or if an outdated, unfair ordinance in Article 5 is causing you to be non-compliant, please bring it to our attention. Our doors are open. We have a separate public hearing coming up on August 5th to reorganize and review these exact standards. I want to look at those rules, I want you to look at those rules and come to our next meeting and suggest where we need to relook or amend them. The Planning Commission's role is to adapt our rules to fit the evolving needs of our community. And I welcome your feedback to ensure we protect neighbor safety without stepping on our rural or individual property rights. Thanks. Randy?
Well, some of you know that my background includes being a planner, a professional planner. I was a planning consultant for almost 30 years, worked in 4 different states and dozens of different communities. And whenever I looked at a zoning ordinance, I always saw something, language very similar to this, that it was talked about civil infractions. It's only back, if you go back long enough, you'll find the issues in there about misdemeanors or the communities that haven't touched their zoning ordinance in years. So I think, as was mentioned, this ordinance, or this civil infraction provision first was passed in 1994. And so we are sitting here 30 some years later, thinking about adopting what was available to us for more than 30 years. A lot of communities went this way for obvious reasons, some of the reasons that we've talked about here. I have heard public comments and I appreciate them. I do think there are some technical issues in this draft that we have in front of us. I'm sensitive to the issue about the $500 being, first of all, it says not more than $500 is the fine in the language we have there, and that every day such a violation continues shall constitute a separate and distinct offense under the provisions of this ordinance. The word shall is troublesome here, and it's troublesome not only in regular language, but also in our ordinance, which in section 105D says the word shall is always mandatory. So I'm thinking that that's problematic, and we should have our attorney adjust that language, perhaps change to may. I understand the reason for having a provision like that, as has been explained to me. It is possible that somebody could be violating the ordinance, go through a whole long process of trying to get compliance, ultimately be fined for non-compliance. After that, months go by and the same thing happens again. So you can potentially have the same circumstance happening multiple times. So there is the need for potentially a more than one fine under the same provisions. If a person is not desiring to be compliant with the ordinance. We have very basic ordinance. And I gotta tell you, it is funny to me to sit and listen to people say it's HOA type requirements. This is so far from what you would simply find in an HOA. It's comical. Where we have basic ordinances here about junk, and our zoning ordinance is definitely in need of a ton of work, and I'm grateful that the planning commission has spent so much time working through this. There was about 30 pages of rewritten material that just went through the township board, and a lot more on the way to fix some of the problems here. I brought this with me here so you could see. This is what the planning commission was given probably 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, from the supervisor at the time, and said, here's your zoning ordinance. This is what we have to tell people what they can do with their property. Now, there are many issues with that. There were material in here that's been talked about before. I don't want to elaborate on it because it reflects poorly on the township, but I will tell you that there's been a ton of work that's been done by this planning commission to get our ordinance into a form that is in one concise, readable document that is available to be downloaded on the township website. So I think it goes hand in hand with the need to get an enforcement mechanism here that makes sense, that avoids criminal penalties and potential jail time. I mean, that's amazing that you could go to jail for zoning violations. I've never heard of that before coming here, but anyway, there are also a couple other technical issues in here, one of which I'm grateful to Denise to point out about the nuisance per se. The language that's in red does not match our ordinance. And the issue about severability is there's another section about severability that exists elsewhere in the ordinance that we should be clear to be replacing per the attorney's recommendation. So in my mind, there's a few little tweaks that need to be made to this before it's actionable.
Scott?
Mine's short and sweet. Changing Article 22 to allow municipal civil infractions will let the township hold people accountable for zoning violations through a civil process, like getting a speeding ticket, rather than treating ordinary violations as crimes that can result in criminal record or jail time. Many Michigan townships already use civil infractions this way, including nearby ones such as Acme, Blair, East Bay, Elmwood, Garfield, Long Lake, Peninsula, and Milton. It only makes sense to have clear, fair consequences for everyone's actions.
Thank you. Mine is short also. I support the change to our zoning ordinance from misdemeanor to a civil infraction. I think it doesn't make any sense to send someone to jail for building something in the side yard setback, for instance. But it's the goal of the planning commission currently to amend our zoning ordinance to be clear and easy to use. And this amendment does not support that. In item 1, the wording of the $500 every day that such a violation continues shall constitute a separate and distinct offense is completely unclear, even though the attorney assures us that what it means is that you can be written or cited for an offense that you previously had been cited for, and that there is no buildup of fines based on the number of days which you were not in compliance. That's not how this reads to the average person, and I consider myself to be an average person. So I can't support it the way it's written, but I do support the idea of changing from a misdemeanor situation to a civil infraction. Also, I did also question on the flow chart why we couldn't have a timeline. And what was explained to me was, because I had the same reaction, what kind of opportunity is the property owner given to comply? And the issue is that based on the infraction, that timeline can change. So if somebody has built something in a setback, for instance, they need to respond to the information that they've been given, and it's not initiated by a letter. It's initiated by a phone call or a site visit by the zoning administrator. And, but they're not gonna, and I know this isn't what you were suggesting, but you probably can't get that building moved or rebuilt or taken down even in 14 days. So it's very difficult to put a timeline on something like that and to create kind of a general one. We could certainly suggest that people respond within a certain period of time once they've been notified that there is a complaint that has been verified, and so they're in non-compliance. But beyond that, it's very difficult to apply a timeline to the flow chart. So I'm not really sure that that's something that we can fix, except, as I said, to that first part, which is the owner should respond in some manner, within a reasonable amount of time once they've been notified of the violation. And then I agree with Randy and Denise about the nuisance per se, and the fact that it doesn't refer to our original zoning ordinance, so that adds a layer of confusion, and that the severability clause doesn't need to be in here. So I do think we have some work to do on rewriting this amendment. But as I said, I am in support of the idea of changing from a misdemeanor to a civil infraction, because I do think that it actually protects our rights better than sending people to jail. I just don't think there's any value in that. So what we need to decide now is if we want to make a motion on this, if we want to table it, how we want to handle this. What I'm hearing is a lot of the same thoughts, that is, we're in support of the changing to a civil infraction, but the wording of this amendment is not there yet. So I'd like to get some feedback from you on how you'd like to proceed.
I agree with the way you characterize that.
Pardon me?
I agree with the way you characterize that, at least in my mind.
So do we want to table? What would be appropriate? We can also make a motion and have it not pass. We could make a motion and have it pass. I mean, we've got options here, but I don't think we want it to pass in its current form. That's what I'm taking away from your comments.
Yeah, I don't think we want it to pass in our legal form, so I definitely don't think we should send it to the board in any form right now, but are we able to at least make our suggestions of where we think it needs edited and send it back to legal?
Yes.
I think that's most productive versus just tabling it, right? I mean, we've identified the problems that we see.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we table it, we would be
That's still
doing
the
it
same
in
thing.
order to be able to get feedback on editing it.
Okay,
Is that right?
that's the same, so it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's what we want to do. Table it and then have it, comments go to the attorney and have them address them.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable making changes on the fly here,
No.
with this. This
No.
doesn't.
Great.
This is obviously a legal matter, and we want to have appropriate legal input. I get my legal advice from attorneys, not lay people.
Pardon me?
I try to get my legal advice from attorneys rather than lay people.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so do we need a motion to table? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we table zoning ordinance amendment 2026-04 until we are able to create until we are able to edit the violations article with the help of the attorney, and then review it again.
So I'd be hopeful that we could do that in August at the
Mhm.
August 5th meeting. I
Mhm.
don't think unless I'm wrong, unless there's changes that you have in mind that I don't understand the depth of.
I think we're all on the same page.
Is
Yeah.
it really just pertaining to the second to last sentence in section 1 there?
Right, and then also the nuisance per se portion and the severability clause, which is redundant.
I also, when you were saying that the court system sets. I
So-
think that needs to be clear.
Yeah.
Because it's not, and even if like say you're going through this process and you're looking at the appendix or what is this called? What's this called again?
The flow chart?
Yeah, if you're looking at the flow chart and this is, you're like, okay, what's gonna happen? I even think that needs to be a little bit more detail oriented, like it says issue a ticket. Right there, I would be thinking, okay, I'm gonna get my $500 fine just by the way it's written right now. But from what I'm understanding from talking to you, everybody, that's set by the court. So
Right.
that needs to be explained, like where that says issue ticket, you're not necessarily that's not the fine you're gonna pay. You're really not gonna get to that point till you're all the way towards the end of this flow chart. So
Until the court rules.
the court rules.
Right.
So that just needs to be explained better. And
So there's also, the other thing about the ticket is, in addition to issuing the ticket, the zoning administrator would need to request, how does she's put this here? The zoning administrator, if the zoning administrator does not request a hearing, then no hearing will be scheduled. So that's the part where you issue the ticket, you still have the opportunity to come into compliance, even though you've been given the ticket, and you wouldn't be given any fine, because the court is the only place that can issue
Right.
the fine.
I feel like that's where there's the real
Yeah.
misunderstanding of how this works. I think people are just thinking the zoning administrator is going to hand out like, you owe 500 and you owe 500. And then the next day, oh, it's not better yet. Here's another 500. And like, that's not how this works, but that's how it's understood when you read it.
Right.
So we have to definitely fix that.
Yeah, and that's why we included the information that Denise received from Sue Schaub, the office manager at the district court, because that very clearly states, what the fines typically are, and the fines do not accumulate before a judgment. And there's a default fee of $35. I guess I don't know what that's for, defaulting on what, not showing up? Okay.
Not showing up.
So, yeah, I don't know how we can,
Yeah.
just add more wording in here, I think, to explain it better.
Right, but so we do have a motion on the table. We need a second. Would somebody like to second the motion?
Second, Trumbull.
And then let's do a roll call vote on this.
Excuse me, Reed. Before
to
you take
restate
that
it?
vote, your motion, it turned into discussion.
Blah,
I
blah.
would- For the record, I would like to read it back to you to see if it's what you wanted it to say.
Can you read it back?
Ms. Stratton made a motion to table the zoning ordinance amendment number 2026-04 until the planning commission is able to edit the violations article with the assistance of legal counsel.
That's way better than the way I said.
No, that's what she said, and then discussion started, so, okay.
Okay, and who was seconding? Scott?
Yep.
seconded?
Just one point of clarification. I think some of the material you're talking about is in the administrative rules rather than the ordinance itself. So there's two levels here,
Right.
so that correcting the issues that you talk about there may involve the board action with regard to changing administrative rules. Because that flow chart came from that, it's not in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, it wouldn't be part of the amendment.
And we can't, okay.
Yeah, but we can,
Suggest that they
Yeah.
clear that up.
Are you referring to the code enforcement policy and procedures manual that is at the administrative rules you're talking about? Okay.
all right, so we'll do a roll call vote on the motion to table.
Okay. Milnick,
Yes.
Stratton,
Yes.
Merchant,
Yes.
Rebant,
Yes.
Peltonen, yes, Sherman absent, and Trumbull.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Oh, okay. We will move on to public comment. I'm not going to read the rules again. But you are, just to remind you that you are limited to 3 minutes. Who would like to speak? No.
Andy Steelman, Chris Road. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you, guys. The common sense, fixing some stuff before we just pass. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys. I understand. And Also, thank you personally, Randy, for, turning that huge pile into a legitimate. You're working hard on it and it is appreciated. Thank you.
Here it is now.
Check this.
Are we good, Joe? Okay.
Hi again, Renee Savage, 9833 Pine Hill Lane. Thank you very much. You made a lot of things a lot clearer. You listened, and I love what you were saying about changing out the timelines and the $500 and that it can be beneficial for all of us. Thank you.
Brenda Baker, 5982 Cook Road, and I'd just like to say thank you too. I think that you really listened to us. I mean, I'm all for a fine rather than going to jail, so that's good. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Glenn Savage, Pine Hill Lane. I'm happy to see that the board acknowledged the people and listened to the people and tabled this event. And is going to work on it more. And my kudos to you all. I'm very happy.
Thank you.
Jessica Mangus, I had one quick thing I wanted to mention at the beginning about the venue. I don't think anybody knew that the refrigerator back there was gonna do that. But I know that the reason we moved here was because of the issues being able to hear people or something along those lines with Millbrook. Considering it seems to be the same way with the crowd side here, if you ever did put 70 big number, 3-digit number in here of people, I worry that some of the elderly individuals or people that may have issues with that may not be able to hear from back in the stands with all the unfortunate chit chat that goes on sometimes during a meeting. That being said, I greatly respect and am very thankful that you guys, it sounds like, really listened and took a look at things. Genuinely, I think this particular group, it's a lot of new people and new faces to the board for the planning commission. Sorry, different things. You guys have the potential, I think, to really go over these things and take the best parts of the ideas and the best parts of the original way it was written, the way some people are perceiving it, and hammer it into something that can last the 50, 70 years that I'm more worried about, hoping to stay in this area. And I hope you guys hold yourselves to the standard in the back of your head, that high standard of, well, I want this perfect. I really want this to be great. I want this to really work, because I think you guys can genuinely do it. And I think that was an example of it here tonight. That'll be all from me, and thank you very much.
Thanks.
Jim Snyder, I really appreciate the thought you guys had, each one of your comments and the things that a lot of people have said that seem kind of vague and a little bit overreaching. Appreciate where things went tonight and listening to the people. They have comments on certain things. August 5th, I would love to be able to talk about junk ordinance, outside storage, and then the word blight was mentioned tonight. I really don't know if there's a blight ordinance, but that's a whole different animal all in itself. And that actually really relates to health and safety of individuals on a different scale. And it would be really nice to find out what is the meaning behind all those ordinances? What is, if we don't do anything, what is gonna happen, and stuff, but, I am for what you guys did tonight, and in my experience, I've dealt with the junk and I've dealt with outside storage and other things. I wasn't given the opportunity because a previous board would not let me build a structure on my property, even though I had the property to do it. Even though in the outside storage, it says has to be an approved building. So everybody in outside storage, like you were saying about farm, it has to be usable farm equipment that's out there for the process of doing the farm. Can't be stuff out there that can't be used. But they either need to be refined so it's more understanding, and the definitions are a big thing, what each one really is and how it affects health and safety. Thank you very much for tonight. Appreciate it.
I just want to get clarification. The junk and blight that's not in the zoning ordinance, right? That's part of the general ordinance or?
Ordinance number 38 is, the junk, but there is no blight that I know of. I mean,
Yeah, and the zoning ordinance only goes to Article 22,
I think he's talking about the general ordinances.
the general ordinances. So that would,
Right.
that would be the town board, right? That's where you would need to talk about that because
Right.
we only work on general ordinances if we're directed by the board. We're really focused more on the
so then
zoning.
yours would be outside storage then?
That's not necessarily junk, outside storage.
But that's the way it's written. I mean, nobody can have anything outside their yard unless they're using it and things like that. But I'm just saying, those are the things we need to, before we go ahead and enforce it again against somebody that already lived it, to clarify it, who can have, one boat, two boats, one tractor, two whatever. We gotta figure it out. So,
Okay. Well, okay, so outside storage is, it's it's Article 5, item 5.05. So that is in the zoning ordinance, so that's something that we can look at. So you could come and talk to us about that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
From Williamsburg, Michigan. Did I understand right that a person could come down to the township hall and get any correspondence relating to this issue?
My understanding is the correspondence is all kept in a book by the clerk. And you can.
And the public can look at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree. I agree with everything the audience said today, the people that were against this, and even in the end, this is the first time, in my own opinion, that it felt like you listened to us. Like mostly, it feels like we're trying to be run over. And I just would like you to all remember that each and every individual property and person in this community has their own set of circumstances. I don't have a building to work out of, to change my oil or work on my car or work on my rototiller or my tractor. It's all done in my driveway. That's where my water is. That's where my electricity is. That's where the closest thing to a piece of flat ground I have is. So my circumstances are different than other people's, just like other people's are different than mine. And we all have our own set of circumstances. So trying to make this work for the whole community, I was glad to hear comments in that direction. Tonight's the first time I've heard that. It's felt very much for a very long time like the new people moving into this community want the people who are living here before them to live like they do. That's not how the world works. We all have our station in life. We all do what it takes to maintain our station in life. And as long as you're happy in the station you are, I don't think anybody else has the right to belittle you or degrade you or tell you you can't do what it takes to make ends meet. The civil infraction thing, to me, in my own personal thoughts, seems like it gives the local government a heavy hand to be able to tell us that we have to live like our neighbors do. I can't live like my neighbors do. Most of my neighbors got a lot more money than I do. I live on Skimog Point Road. The majority of the people that live on that road have a lot of money. They live on the lake. I can't compete with that. I do gotta say, I'm very disappointed in the way that the board and the planning commission seem to always change the rules. Tonight, you corrected one of them by waiting and giving us this opportunity to have public comment, the second public comment after your discussion, which is the way it's always been. But like, all of a sudden, the rules were changed. And the rules always seem to change about how much time we have to communicate. Your your job is to communicate with the public. A lot of us still have a job, work all day long. I can't just go down to the town hall anytime I want and communicate. And I'm not a computer guy. I can't text you and tell you what I think. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kim Mangus. Overall, I want to congratulate you for doing something the board was not able to do and making people feel like they've been heard. And Randy, there's no question that abomination that you were handed, that I was handed and told that it was an ordinance was ludicrous. And you've done a great job of, there's some of the things in the recodification that may have tweaked definitions a little bit that I didn't agree with, but overall, it is no question a far more usable document. A statement was made that when things were passed by the planning commission, well, why didn't people object then if you didn't like a particular ordinance? There was no opportunity to object to some of the things that are currently being enforced. When was someone going to object to the outlawing of short-term rentals? That's just the easiest one. It's not the only one. It's not on the books. It's not mentioned on the books. It's never been mentioned on the books. And it has occurred for all the 50+ years that we've had zoning. It has never been enforced if it was illegal. And we have a lot of ordinances like that. Very few homes in our township are 100% compliant with our ordinance. Take a look. GIS has aerial views of everybody's house. Are we ready? The question I really want you to think about is, are we actually ready to enforce 100% of the ordinances that we have on the books 100% of the time? That's the question. How many of you know of a house who does not meet setbacks in our township? They're not that hard to find. How many people can think of a shed? How many of you know someone who parks outside? We have ordinances, and you have identified several of them. I congratulate you, like blight. What's blight? We have things that do need to be defined, fine-tuned, clarified, and our ordinance is magnificently improved over where it was at previously. We are still not ready for 100% enforcement 100% of the time. You should not have an ordinance on the books that you are not ready to enforce 100% of the time. I park outside. I have a garage. That shouldn't be illegal. But strict interpretation of our ordinance says that it. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Dave Williams, 11552 Watson Road. I'd like to give you guys a sense of appreciation and thanks. Seems as though you heard everyone tonight. I wasn't here. I was still at work. I got here late. I just want to, I guess just give appreciation and thanks. I heard from all of you at the end of the meeting here tonight that you understand why this shouldn't go forth at the moment. And that is things like the $500 per day. What does that mean? Is if the verbiage says shall, that means it has to. It's like a shall issue for your CPL. It has to happen unless the verbiage says otherwise, and it doesn't. That's not something that we should go forth with. You guys have acknowledged that. That's pretty awesome to see. It's not something that we've seen in the past very often. We want to give appreciation for that. I know this meeting is really mostly about, do we want to change to from a criminal to a civil action? Without those changes, as you guys have identified, the idea that it's a criminal offense to have your grass too long or your lawn the size that's not defined kind of sucks, but I would go to prison for years before I give up my home. And the way the rules are written previously or currently with with $500 per day, that can stack up and then that goes against your taxes. If you can't make the bill, you'll lose your home. It takes most people 30 years to pay for a home. I'll go to jail for 5 or 10 years. That's no problem before I lose my home. So thanks for identifying that that's absurd and that needs to be fixed in the wordage before it goes forth. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mark Williams, Williamsburg. I brought some notes this time. I missed one of my points on what is junk. And what my story was that some years ago, I took my mother and an elderly aunt to visit a site in Whitewater Township that's pretty well known. And the comments that my mom and my elderly aunt made was, it's a pile of junk. And we were visiting Samuel's farm. And they just was a bunch of old junk to them. I've noticed kind of a degrade in our people. There's only a few of us here tonight, but if anybody wants to try an experiment, if you go back to Whitewater Township, try driving 55 and see how many cars pile up behind you. Or drive through Traverse City and see how long it takes before you see somebody run a red light. The people know that it's wrong, but they do it anyway. One of my sister-in-laws is proud of the fact that she sets her cruise control at 7 miles an hour over the speed limit because it'll probably work. She knows it's wrong, but she does it anyway. Here just a couple of weeks ago, I was going down Williamsburg Road, driving 55 right on it, cruise set on 55, and a guy behind me couldn't stand it. He had to pass me. Double yellow. And the fellow coming the other way that came up over the hill, the only thing I could think of was those Bugs Bunny cartoons where the eyeballs pop out, because I could see his eyeballs from where I was when he passed me. 3 wide on Williamsburg Road. And my point is, people know what's wrong and they do it anyway. And I appreciate tonight that you people did what's right. And thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Anything from the commission? Anybody need to add anything? Can I have a motion?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I guess I heard I generally don't respond, but I heard that pile of binders there called ludicrous, and I can't agree more. But I think what's also ludicrous is that the planning commission used that binder to deal with site plans, rezonings, special use approvals for years. And I'm glad to see that that ship has turned and that we are working towards a complete rewrite of the ordinance, getting rid of the conflicting provisions, getting rid of the vagueness, getting rid of the issues that have plagued the township for a long time. So that's all I want to say.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second that emotion.
Alton, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate the input.